All righty, here we are. Welcome to the CNC with Dave Gatton show. Sorry we missed last week, but we're back tonight, and I have a special guest all the way from great state of Illinois. I guess that's where you're at, right? Illinois.
I don't know if I'd call it the great state.
Well, I wasn't gonna go there, but
I'm not from here originally, so it's all right.
okay. Well, you're rocking the Chiefs outfit, so I'm digging that. So
yeah, it's actually originally from Kansas City area. So
okay, awesome. All right. So anyway, I don't have any special announcements or any of that stuff I usually talk about. Yeah, we made it through the Christmas challenge, so no announcements there. Everybody should be getting their stuff if they haven't already got it anytime soon. I think most folks have already got their stuff that I've sent out. But anyway, we're going to get started talking with Jeff, and this show is probably going to be a little bit different than what we usually talk about, because normally, we talk about CNC stuff, but it's usually more related to the hobby CNC stuff. Well, for Jeff, it's a little bit more than a hobby. So I wanted to have him on. I've watched him post little videos and pictures on Facebook and stuff like that, and seen some of the fantastic work he's doing. So I wanted to have him on and have him talk about how he's using his CNC in his business. So Jeff, I'm going to kind of pass it off to you. And if you would just kind of get everybody up to speed, would let them know who you are, what you do, and that kind of thing.
All right. Well, Dave, thank you for having me on tonight. We had a little bit of a delay getting on because you talked to me, I believe, December time frame before Christmas. Just timing and everything worked out to where it was middle of January. So, well, I'm Jeff Morgan. I own. We have actually kind of a dual business here. Online, we're Morgan House Wood Projects, where I do shadow boxes and flag displays. And then locally, we have Awards and Trophy Shop. So we're online for that. It's called Recognitions. Webrecognitions.com is our awards and trophy site. Kind of blending them both together on both websites. So, but I retired from the Air Force after 22 years back in December of 2007. Before that, I was building shadow boxes and flag displays for guys in the units. And other projects around that people needed. So went out to the DC area, stationed at Andrews, moved out there in 2000. Friend of mine said, you have to start a little business doing the shadow box. I said, I probably couldn't make any money. Well, it started making money. So, but this was without CNC. So, we're talking, 2000, way before I found out about the home built CNCs, or even, any of the bigger ones were just too much for me. But in 2001, started a little single web page off of GeoCities for those old folks out there that remember GeoCities. They're long gone now. But 2004, we moved to Illinois. Air Force moved me here to Scott Air Force Base, and I opened up a bigger shop, still part-time. It was just paying for all the tools, and the wife was happy about that, as long as, what little money I made with the woodworking, I could buy tools and it wouldn't come out of that family budget. So we kept growing and growing, and then in 2007, we made the decision to retire from the Air Force and open up a awards and trophy shop, and then do the shadow boxes and flag displays full time. So we purchased a house with a big shop next to it. And 3 months before I got out, when I was on terminal leave, I basically transformed this whole shop into a retail space up front, and then in the back half is our wood shop. So started doing that. Let's see, we'll fast forward to November of 15, when I came across this guy on YouTube that was making a shoestring budget CNC. Making a CNC on a shoestring budget, I think was how Dave had it, and kind of started following that and looking, seeing the stuff that you could do with it. Still, I went to IWF, International Woodworker Fair, down in Atlanta. That was about 2010. I was wanting to get into a CNC machine because I knew it helped the business, but those were, I think the cheapest one was 60,000. They went clear up 120, 200,000, and the space you needed for it was just more than we could handle. So when I saw Dave's stuff, I started doing some more research, and then actually Dave's had the plans for his shoestring that he sent, and I was just about ready to do that, and then Dave started into the Gatton CNC, making the kits for that. And then June of 16, I believe, ended up buying the kit from Dave, and he sent it to me. And it took a little bit of time. I know some guys, it took a little bit of time to build theirs as well, but with running a business and then trying to do this on the side, learning completely, the CNC stuff. It was a slow build. So I think I built the parts that David sent in the box. We ended up getting that put together like in August. And then I think that was August 16. So I'm looking at my notes here to make sure, because I went back and looked at some of the pictures from when I built. So May of 17, I finally had the gantry done, put on the table. And then it was about November was when I finally finished it of 2017. So started doing started using that, learning it, and then knew that it could help our business just by doing the curve cuts that we do for our shadow boxes. And then Dave put a picture on there of me in his shop. We were going to Florida Keys for Christmas vacation in December of 17, and we were going right by Dave's house. So I contacted him and found out it'd be a good time to come and visit. So we stopped by on the way through, talked with Dave for a while. Just a great guy. I mean, even through the whole build, which I know most of you that are building it, Dave and this whole community that Dave's created is just phenomenal. So for hobbyists, or even for me, for small business, it's just really helped. So let's see, in August of 2018, I moved up to a spindle on it, and that was a lot better, a lot quieter. For those of you that have a spindle, you know that it is quieter, and just kind of that's kind of where we are there.
Okay, great. Yeah, I remember when you came through. We were talking earlier, and I didn't remember exactly when it was, but from the how Facebook remembers everything.
Yeah,
when
exactly.
I went back and found that picture when you were visiting, you and your wife, as you passed through here, that was like December of 17, I guess.
Yeah.
But like I said, I wanted to have you on here because I first of all, we've already got a couple of questions here. This one would probably be pretty answered. Rob wants to know, did I give you a broom when you visited me? That's
well, actually, he gave me a shirt.
Yeah, so. That's a vicious rumor that I don't know how that got started. I always tell people when they say, "Well, can I come by and see you?" I always say, "Yeah, wear old clothes, wear work clothes." But yeah, that's just a rumor. But so when you got this thing built, you really didn't have, because you were using a laser before, right?
Yeah, how I would do my cuts before, we had got a laser for the engraving side of things, and I would make templates with that. I would cut out a 1/8 inch piece of hardboard, the shape that I needed it, and then we had a pen router, and an overarm pen router, and that's what we used to make all of our curved shapes and our. If you see in the back here, the aircraft shadow box there, we had templates for all of those cut out of 1/8 inch hardboard, and that's what we would screw it to the back side of the MDF there, because that's a MDF core oak ply, and we would screw it to the back of there so it would hide the screw holes, because on the frame on the back side it would go right over them. But that's how we would cut those out, and yeah, a lot of labor. Not hard to do, but if you do 4 or 5 of those, you get tired. And what the CNC allows us is to set the board in there, just a blank, and clamp it down and hit the button and come back when it's done.
Okay, yeah, and I noticed it looks like you're running T-track on your table back there.
Yes, yeah. We're just like a lot of other people. All right. We got the T-track little clamps, is like cut a bunch out, and as you can always tell, whenever you hit, you're a little close.
All of mine look like that. Yeah, pretty much all of mine look like that, and that's why I use I cut them out of scrap hardwood or plywood or whatever.
Yeah,
that's basically free material left over from something else, and then when you do stuff like that, it's not a big deal.
Yeah, so. It's not the Rockler aluminum ones that you paid $15 for. That now you got to buy a new bit as well.
Yeah. Well, I've got some Rockler ones, and even they look like that. They're real shiny. All the blue anodized aluminum's missing off the end of them, and that rubber. Yeah. But all right, I'm going to go ahead and if I didn't say it before, anybody that has any questions for Jeff, feel free to put them in the chat. I've got the chat here where I'm watching it. So if you've got any questions for Jeff, just put them in there. But I've already got a few for myself, and I know other folks are going to want to know this too. But when you built your Gatton, you mentioned you've added a spindle, and I can see you've got dust collection, which I know you just about have to have, doing the stuff you're doing.
Because with oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Well, what kind of setup as far as the controller and stuff like that do you have on that thing?
The Xylotech. Back when they were selling the Xylotech kit, that it was like for Gatton CNC, you select on that button and got it all sent to us. I had actually, when I got it, when I ordered it from you, was it August? I think it was. So I ended up ordering it was like September. I think I went ahead and ordered all the controllers for it and the steppers and everything, and they sat for almost a year before I installed them. So when I put everything together, the controller wasn't working. Well, what happened? I took a picture and sent it to Jeff down there at Xylotech, and he said that it looked like it had been damaged in shipment, and it had been over a year. Mm-hmm. So he was good enough that I sent it back to him, and it cost me, I think, $15 to for him to repair it, and then send it back, and it started working. Everything worked fine from it.
Okay, well, I thought that because I know how long you've had your machine or your kit, so I kind of thought you might be using a Xylotech, which brings me to another question. Since Xylotech is no longer offering those kits, and you're using this for a business, I mean, do you have a backup plan or?
No, we don't need those. It'll be jumping through hoops when something fails, unfortunately, and I know it'll happen. But I'll have to go back and kind of start from maybe square two, finding out what other folks have been using for theirs.
Yeah.
Do you still have Xylotech on your machine, or?
Well, see, I have several machines because I have a couple of garage works, and then I have my Gatton, which is my main machine in the garage, and I'm using basically the Stepper Online kit, the DM542T drivers. I've just got everything mounted to a board with a big AC fan blowing across the drivers and stuff like that. So that's what I'm using. I still have 2 or 3 of the Xylotech boxes. Probably is yours one of the ones in the white box, the little white?
Yeah.
Okay, that's one of the real old ones. See, I've still got 3 of those that are still running. I've got, but it doesn't, I don't mean to just try to knock Xylotech. But sooner or later, everything's going to fail, no matter which one it is. So,
yeah.
But the bad thing is, like I said, for those people that jumped on the Xylotech, it was easy because it's color coded and plug and play. But now, if you're not one of those electronic type, which I'm not really, and something happens, you got to kind of figure something out or pay up some big bucks. There are a couple of plug and play kits out there, but they're really expensive.
Yeah, but the benefit of having all your page on Facebook, and there's 2 or 3 others that I watch and follow. So there's a lot. From 2016, there's just a lot more information out there now than there was, starting back then.
Yeah, yeah.
And as we know, even like computers, about every 18 months, your computer's pretty much obsolete. It's time to move on to something else.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I'm trying to keep an eye. I don't see. Somebody had it. I think I might have missed it. Let me scroll up here. Yeah, Ryan Ballard says, can Jeff bring the shadow box closer to see? He's wanting to get a closer look at it.
You bet. Hang on. I've got a couple different ones that I've got sitting here. I'll show all of those to you guys. This is one, and as you see, most of them are square cuts, except the top here with the walnut and then also the oak. We do we'll build a panel and cut a bunch of the stripes out all together. I've got a few pictures I can show of that here in a little bit. This one back here. This is what I did. We had another shop down by the base that we had a bunch of shadow boxes displayed at, and this was one of my displays that I had down there. So it does have my name on there. I had engraved that. And the engraver I have was done before before we did CNC. So it's not was it J-Tech, I believe, that you guys put on those.
Yeah.
So able to, with these, I'm able to cut out the different shapes for all the different airplanes that's out there. So we've got quite a few of those. And then the big seller that we have are the chevron boxes. And we do, the bottom part and the top part here with the CNC. We cut all the pieces out. And we'll cut these out 2 separate pieces, and we glue them together, and then we route them out. And then same with the bottom here. Been working on a jig to be able to do that part. Have not perfected that yet. Still working on that part. For doing, the grooves here in the middle. What problem I'm having is be able to have the thickness be the same going from one side to the other. So I know it's my jig. I just have to do some working on it. And then the bottom parts that we have. So, these you were able to cut. I think we do the panel. We do 4 or 6 of them. Picture I've got is one of the older ones, so I think we stack up even more to do, because as everybody knows, and they always say, time is money. If we can save some time by cutting out more without having to change out the panel, it always makes it nicer.
Yeah. Jerry Brown had a question. Let me bounce back to it here. He wants to know if the shadow boxes are plexi or real glass.
Real glass. I hate plexi.
I think I was going to say I know the answer to that, because I think I read that on your website.
Yeah, I mean, I've fixed a lot of boxes for folks before, and from some of the other what I would think were bigger shadow box companies, because there's a few out there, and some use plexiglass, and what they tout is, oh, it won't break. But when you go to wipe it one time, if your cloth isn't like super soft and very wet, it's going to scratch no matter what. And then you got to get the buffing compound out and then, clean it up that way.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I know we've got probably quite a few newbies watching, as well as some CNC veterans out there. But when you got your machine built, because you didn't really have any CNC experience, so you had to learn the software. What kind of software are you using?
Using Vectrix software.
Okay, you using VCarve Pro? Is that?
Yeah, that I kind of bit the bullet and started off with that. I know there's a few out there that are, cheaper versions, or there's some freeware I was reading at one time, but just seeing some of the stuff that other people were using, and I wanted to be able to do some modeling later on, so I jumped in with the VCarve.
Okay, and another question I was thinking of that I'm sure will get asked here before long if I don't ask it, is once you got your VCarve Pro and you started learning it, how long did it take you from the time you got your machine finished to when you were really starting to get some good use out of it? Your
what time is it now? I mean that the software is something that you can learn all the time. I mean, you're always learning something. Was it not this last year, but the year before, 2018, Vectrix had their little meetup group, and I went to Chicago for that. Learned quite a bit there, but that meetup wasn't what I thought it would be. I thought it'd be more kind of hands-on learning stuff, but it's more of how people do projects with it, and there was some tips and tricks in there along the way, but just I guess in my mind it wasn't what I was thinking it was. But still, you learn quite a bit. They get all kinds of free projects and stuff that you come out of there with a thumb drive full of stuff. So, but it's I'll use it probably for the rest of the time I have it. One of these days, step up to Aspire to be able to do some carvings, more so than what I've done already. I've done a few carvings, but nothing I modeled myself. Because there's places out there you can buy the already done models.
Mm-hmm. Now, how has I'm trying to think the best way to word this. How do you think that having that CNC has impacted your business?
Well, it's allowed us to do more stuff that used to be a one-off, because when we got this up and running and I was converting everything over to a VCarve template for electronically, I had them saved as a hairline for all, like on the aircraft there, for all the cutouts. So it's real easy to import it from what I had, I was using Corel Draw to import it into the Vectric software, and do your tool paths, and then now you've got it done. So we cleared up a lot of space in the shop from the templates that we had. We had a burn party one day and just got rid of a bunch of templates, because now if somebody wants to change, one thing, I don't have to go make another template, cut it out, bring it back here, and then we cut it out, and then it saves a lot of time that way. It impacted us probably more on the time, because as we're cutting these pieces out now, we're able to go do something else. So, realistically, it's an employee that you're having, that you're not having to pay health care or workman's comp or taxes on. So, realistically, that's how they look at them when you go and talk to the big guys. Is it's an employee basically that you're buying. You don't have to pay them vacation time or sick time.
Yeah, it's actually a very good employee. They don't even want to take lunch break.
They show up on time usually.
Yeah. They're. I absolutely love mine. I'm probably a little biased, but I sit in here a lot of time. I've got a security camera mounted out in my garage, and it's pointed right out my machine. So, so I'm sitting here, I can turn this way and look at the screen. I'm watching it on 1080p right there in the security camera. And as long as I don't have the TV or anything else, any other sound going, I can still hear the drone of the spindle. So even from all the way at this end of the house, if I'm listening close, I can hear a change in pitch or something, if something starts going wrong. And of course I can see a perfect color picture of it, or video of it right there. So I really love it, because I can be back here working on something else. Here lately, I've been back here trying to learn Fusion 360. I'm trying to wean myself off of SolidWorks and work towards Fusion 360. So it's really nice that those things just run and run and run, whether you're watching them or not.
Yeah.
So
actually, I was using it today. You just got to make sure you check your bit height, or nothing happens if you're changing bits. I was doing keyholes in the backs of my cutouts that I was doing today, and I started it, walked off, and was doing some sanding, and then come back, started changing the bit, and I looked down, and there wasn't anything cut into the back. So I'm like, tighten it back up. I was like, okay, well, yeah, I need to set the tool height. So
yeah, they'll some things will happen like that sometimes.
Yep.
Now, has this CNC, I know you have kind of like a catalog of products on your website, because I was checking it out earlier, and I would advise anybody else that wants to check it out. I have the link to his website down in the show description, so be sure and check that out. But does having the CNC allow you to maybe take on an order that you might otherwise not take on if it's something different? If somebody wants something different than your normal catalog of products?
Yeah, it did. Actually, the first order that we had was for a sign for Illinois State Police. I think they had a sign for, and I can't remember what it was for, but I wouldn't have done it because it was, they wanted it carved into the wood. And I was like, this is going to be my first project with it. I was kind of nervous doing it, but it all worked out, and it worked fine. So yeah, I've been able to take on different projects for sure. And last year we purchased a new printer for the front side, but we're able to incorporate that with the wood that we cut out as well. So I was telling you, cutting the keyhole, these were some of them that I was cutting out this morning. Do a keyhole in the back, and then have it cut out, change the bit, and have it cut out everything else. And then doing, printing on these. And this is just MDF. So, it's amazing other technology to put together with it. for for those Navy types out there. I believe Mark Lindsay was Navy, if I'm not.
I think he was Army. I know we got a Navy guy right here, David Jones from Portal Woodworks. He's a Navy guy. I think.
Okay.
I believe Dave Mack is too, if I'm not mistaken. So I think we've got some Navy folks out there.
Yeah. And then being able to do this as well. Now this is with kind of a mixed media. I do the stripes are 1/8" birch that I cut out with my laser, and then put them onto just glue them onto the MDF board. So if you can kind of see that there. So yeah, that works out. It's a UV printer that we got, UV cured inks. So it prints and cures the same time.
Yeah, we've got David says go Navy. So I told you we had some out there.
Yeah, I figured there would be.
Yeah. Here's another one, Russ Meadows. Good to see you on here, Russ. Here we got a Marine here.
Yeah.
All right.
I think we got them all covered.
We got them all covered. And you're not, you make pretty much anything: Navy, Army, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, whatever.
We cover them all. I know the Air Force side of it, for sure. 22 years in the Air Force, so I've got that part down. Learning the others. We've been doing this now. Let's see, the 15th this last week was our 12 years open here at this location. So, had the retail side for 12 years.
Yeah, Javi brings up a good point. Have you started working on your designs for the Space Force, or?
I've got a couple ideas in my head that I want to go with, but yeah, I'm not sure where how that's going. And you think back 47 when the Air Force came from the Army Air Corps, and I'm sure it's 80 years in the future when we look back, the Space Force will be just like the Air Force is now, fully viable entity.
Yeah. Have you done anything for NASA? I mean, any kind of emblems or anything like that?
No. No, we have not NASA, not that I can remember. We've got an order that we've been doing now for 11 years. Take that back, 13 years. It's a large order for flag displays, but they're just straight cuts. It's nothing, CNC wise. But that's for the Firefighters Union for their big ceremony in Colorado Springs every September. So for all the fallen firefighters.
Mm-hmm.
So we sent this year we sent 260 flag displays out. So that kind of shuts our shop down for a few days while we put them all together, because we send them out, nameplates on them with the flag installed, ready to present to the families. So that's a big order for us, and makes us proud to do that. We're very honored to be able to do those.
Mm-hmm. Have you? Because you live there, and I can't remember the name, but you live in kind of a small town in.
Yeah, we're real small, about 2,000 people, Aviston, Illinois.
Yeah.
If you look in the map, and most people say, "Oh, Aviston," because the spelling of it, Aviston. Most people would say, "Oh, Aviston." So you can always tell when people aren't from here.
Okay. Well, do you do? I mean, I'm sure if it's a town of 2,000 people, I'm sure they all know you have a CNC business. So do you get orders for any kind of signage or plaques or retirement things for?
We have more so for just the awards portion, where we laser engrave a plate and put on a plaque. We have done a few CNC things for the folks around here. going to try one of these screen shares here and see if we can get this to come up. I'll show you a large sign, which was probably our second sign we did. Hang on.
Yeah, we practiced this earlier, folks.
Yeah. Where is that? Can't find it. It didn't come over on my. Oh, there we go.
While you're doing that, Rob Hampton, who's watching from down under, has a quick question. He says, Jeff, do you have to get approval to use the logo, emblems, etc.?
For like the stripes, no, but for like any emblems, if somebody requests it, from what I've gathered, it's okay if they are requesting it. I just can't have, all this stuff setting out, to be able to sell. Sports teams and stuff like that, major league logos and stuff, we don't do. I see everybody out there on Etsy that has them.
Well, they just haven't got caught yet.
And that's it, and I don't have lawyers like, NFL or the, Major League Baseball has. So let's get back over here to this to do a screen share. And all right. That was
all right. Done. I'm not seeing it yet. If
you're not
selecting your screen.
Entire screen. There we go.
Okay, here it comes. There we go.
Okay. So that was about a 12-foot board that these folks wanted done. Is that showing up good for you?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. So that one, my machine is, I've got about 48 inches wide by 45 inches deep to be able to cut. So, obviously there was a learning curve doing the tiling for that. And then, came up with a couple hold downs, different ways to do the hold downs. Big long hold down there, across it. When we'd start, like there were orthodontics, so we started down there, and as it would get closer, we stopped it and then moved the clamp back, and then let it continue.
Yeah, tiling. I don't know what your thoughts are, but tiling is not as hard as what some people might think. That's why I'm always, when I see somebody talking about wanting to build their CNC really big, I'm like, nah, just build what you're going to cut most of, the smaller stuff, because you can always tile if you just do these jobs like this once in a blue moon. There's no sense in having it taking up all that shop real estate. And of course, most folks don't listen to me. They build it big anyway, but I try to warn them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's, I going through this build, myself a few years back, and then, I will, I don't watch your page as much as I used to. I used to kind of live by it when I was building. But, I always keep it up. If it pops up, then I'll, go back and look at it. But I see a lot of the same questions that, the new guys these days have that I had back then. So, and everybody, I think, probably does the same thing. Well, I don't think that's right. I want to do it this way. So, but, you as having this, you've built, I don't know how many of these you've built before. Not the Gattons, but, like your shoestrings, because I remember you used to build quite a few of those and then sell them. But, the people that do this all the time, they know best, even though it's, like kids, I guess, right? They, you got to tell them over and over before they really get it.
Yeah. Well, I just try to tell people, because having done this for a really long time, I know that the majority of people that do build a really big, say a 60 by 60 table or whatever, you look at their spoil board and it's only that first lower left 2 feet by 2 feet that's usually marked up. So,
yeah.
um,
Now
but
this picture here is some of those. We build the panels and then we'll cut a bunch out at a time.
okay. Yeah, I was going to say, if you have any, without revealing any of your trade secrets, do you have any tips for folks who may want to look at getting into some kind of light production with their machine?
Well, kind of like this picture here. The more you can put on there, the more you can put on that bed, and you don't have to mess with it. That's where you make your money. When we first started doing this, we were doing on this picture here, the bottom two will get married up there. They'll be glued up, and we were just doing one set of those. So with this setup, the way we've got it here, with our boards as wide as we get them, we can do 4 right now, and it's going to be a little bit longer time, but that gives us more time to go do other things. Get it prepped to swap out, or go have a soda or whatever, and then come back and swap it out. So before, like I said before, we had the pin router, and you're having to cut all these, moving it by hand, as it's hogging through, the 1/2 inch material. So this, I think we do 3 passes for our 1/2 inch material with the hardboard. If it's an MDF, we'll do 2 passes, and that gives us a pretty good cut, on both sides of it.
Yeah. Yeah, there's really no big secret really about making a CNC productive or efficient. The thing is, it's not making any money sitting still. You got to keep it moving. So if you're trying to run light production, you got to figure out fixtures or jigs, whatever you want to call them, to keep at least more than one on the table, so that while it's cutting one, you're replacing the blank of another one. And depending on how fast the cycle time is, you may want to have 6 or 8 of them on there.
Yeah. When we're cutting out the stripes there, we'll have. Last time I think we cut out about 75 to 80 stripes for each of the different the top ones. So the more we can do at one time, the better.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned a while ago, I think you said you've got your building where you've got part of it kind of as a showroom. So you have all this stuff you're showing pictures of. I assume you have on display where people can come in and see exactly what the kind of stuff you do.
Some of it we do. We've got, like I said earlier, we had another location that we had a lot of these shadow boxes. Almost one of every one we had on display. We probably had 30 or 40 shadow boxes there. And it was great for that because we were right outside of base. It just the property changed owners, and they raised our rent 95%. And I told them we couldn't afford that, and they were like, okay. So we ended up moving on. So that's I guess that's business. But here we try and take pictures. We're about 20 miles from the base, so we'll get some walk-in traffic from base. Not as much as we used to, being right outside of the base, but we still get a few people come out, and we've got a few that they can look at. Plus we got pictures. So most we do store like all those shadow boxes, except the cutout one for the aircraft. We keep a store of those ready to ship out. So, somebody needs one, they can, get it within just a few days if we have it in stock.
Yeah. How much time is involved, like what you've got on the screen right now? Uh, what kind of time are we talking about
Um,
making something like that?
oh wow, hours. I've got a book that when we first
Well, I'm
started.
not trying to put you on the spot here. Like I
I
said, I
know,
don't
I
want
know,
to reveal
but
any trade secrets, but
uh,
just curious of how long something like that takes.
we've probably got 6 to 8 hours, maybe not quite that much.
Yeah. Now you mentioned before that you use glass instead of plexi. Do you cut all your own glass?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
I've got some jigs that I'm able to put a piece of glass in. Like if you like this one here, um, it's straight. They're all straight cuts. Let me see if I can open up. I get another picture here, but I've got a jig that I'm able to put the items into it, or the glass into it, and then just cut it right down, right through the lines, and it gets me what I need. Oh shoot, I don't have a front on shot of the frame. Um, you can kind of see the frame on the sides here, and then down on the bottom here, it's just an angle cut,
Mm-hmm.
about a 45-degree angle. So we cut it, and then we always put a face frame on the inside of it that will glue the glass into that. I'll take and run a bead of clear silicone adhesive around there, and then set the glass in there, and just a little pressure on it, and then let it dry, and that glass stays in. Really, really nice.
Okay. We had a question up here too I want to catch before it scrolls out of sight here. Earl Walker says, are you using hardboard as a spoil board to protect other? I'm not.
To protect.
I think he might have been talking about when because it looked like you had some hardboard on the table when you were showing the that picture earlier of where you were cutting multiples.
No, just on my CNC, I've got a 1-inch piece of MDF that I use as a spoil board. So I got my lumber distributor carries a 1-inch MDF. It's heavy as can be, but gets you a little bit more times to clean up the spoil board before you have to replace it.
Right, right. Okay.
Because this was a piece of that 1-inch material as well that we cut out. So the wings, this middle part here came out. So it was just really the outside edge that we had. And then another board, I cut another piece of 1/2-inch MDF that fit right into that groove right along around the edge. And then that was able to cover with a piece of felt. And then this one here, we ended up painting an aircraft gray, like the actual aircraft on the flight lines.
Mm-hmm.
So that one was relatively was pretty easy. I mean, there wasn't a lot of work in it, just a little bit of sanding, and then we sprayed it. More so the figuring out the two pieces to cut to make sure that they fit inside each other.
Yeah. Whoops, I missed a question here. Mako Shark wants to know running open loop or closed loop steppers. I'm assuming since if you're using the original steppers that came with the Xylotech kit, those are open loop.
Okay. I'm thinking you're right. I'm not 100% on.
Yeah, yeah.
Like you said, the electronics portion. I mean, that's not me. Building a frame and a table and everything, I can cover that.
Yeah.
Electronic stuff is a little.
Well, that's the way a lot of that's the way I used to be, and that's why I was so attracted to the plug and play kit. And actually, if I hadn't ran across Xylotech and been able to kind of spec that out for the guys that were like me that didn't know anything about electronics and stepper motors and all that stuff. I might not be here today. Fortunately, Xylotech's was what came in just in the nick of time because it made it real easy for guys to just buy a color coded plug and play kit. But of course, now I've had to build some myself, so it's not as hard as.
Once you get into it, somebody would ask me before, can you build a CNC? I'd be like, nah, I don't think so. But after you do it, one time, you're like, okay, well, that's not as bad as you thought. You asked also earlier if this opened up any other projects. This picture here is an example of that. This lady was I think she was Navy, and she loved Hello Kitty. And I before I would have been like, I don't think we can do that, But with the CNC, you program it in, and it'll cut it out. And I don't have to have an extra template laying around somewhere of a little cat face there.
Yeah, Hobbies mentioned it's not just the Xylotech kits, but pretty much most of the hobby CNCs are going to be the open loop design.
Okay.
So, I was looking to see. I think I missed another question. We've got a lot of folks loving your work here, Jeff.
Well, thank you, everybody.
If I can click on the right ones here. Ryan says the Hello Kitty is great. Now, I don't know if I asked you this earlier or not. Well, that's beautiful right there. But you said you're using VCarve Pro. Are you the one that designs, or does your wife help you, or is it a team effort, or?
No, usually I'm kind of production. She does a lot. She does the office stuff, and helps up front with the customers. So that's, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that do work with a spouse. It has its challenges. I mean, we have a great relationship, but it's hard sometimes because you'll go home and go sit down to dinner. So what'd you do today? Well, you were sitting right there next to me. You know what I did. So, that presents challenges like that. It's like we don't have anything to talk about because we're always talking shop.
Yeah.
This was done basically over a weekend. I did this project. It was kind of a quick, hey, can you do this? And I'm like, it's one of those things. You never want to say, no, I don't think I can. It's like, the pride always gets there. And oh yeah, we can do that. So, but this one turned out amazing.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Jesse Snyder says, does Jeff's UV printer print directly to MDF?
Yes. Yeah, it sticks beautifully to, the adhesion on the wood is phenomenal. It impresses me every day when we print something out. It's just amazing.
And Troy wants to know, do you engrave the metal plaques?
Yes. Yeah, we do. Because we, with our laser, it's a CO2 laser. It's a 40 watt CO2 laser that we've had. We've had that thing for 12 years now. And that, it's still going.
Yeah. Awesome. Let's see. Troy says thumbs up to that. He likes that one. So, yeah, I recognize those characters.
There's a little flashback for you, right?
Yeah. And by the way, since we've been talking about stepper motors and stuff, if you look just to the, just to the right of Jeff's left arm there, I guess, that's what I'm using right now. I have that fastened to the back of my Gatton CNC. Now, if you look close right by Jeff's elbow, you'll see that was when I was trying out the Masso. So I'm not using the Masso. I still have it, but but I'm using just a UC 100 going to a breakout board and using that same exact setup right there with those drivers.
Okay.
Ryan Ballard has a question. He wants to know, he says, Jeff, what is your favorite material to work with?
Probably walnut. I love the way walnut it carves real nice. Um, this clock we did, it just turned out wonderful. It carves real nice. Um, I found in the shop here, when I retired, I had a friend of mine help me with building a shadow box for me. And I had a piece of Bubinga, and he cut the dovetails on the corners for me because he's really good at cutting dovetails. And he found out that he was allergic to Bubinga. He swelled up, he got all red, and had to take Benadryl, and he didn't understand why. And and then he went back to finish it up, and he flared up again with it, a couple days later. So he found out that he was allergic to that. The Bubinga turned out beautiful. I mean, it's beautiful wood. We've also used koa here in the shop, and my shop manager David, he found out he's allergic to koa, so he has to get the suit on and tape up his arms and take Benadryl before he works on anything when we do make it out of koa.
Wow. Charles Deering is a well-known scroller, and he's watching tonight, and he says, does he ever incorporate a scroll saw into his work?
I have not in a long time, because as you saw in that one shadow box with the walnut with the light stripes, I end up cutting it out of 1/8" cuts real well on our laser. So that it's a lot easier doing that. I have done scroll work in the past, but I don't do it to make any money off of it.
So basically, what he's saying, Charles, is if you have a CNC, you can throw your scroll saw away. I'm just poking fun at Charles.
Now this one, this was a unique request. Obviously, a Navy CB emails me and says, "Hey, I've got an idea for a shadow box. I'm a CB and I want a bulldozer." So we thought about it, and he sent a picture of a little barroom napkin drawing he had of it, and we're like, we need a challenge. We'll take it on. So this was probably over about a 1.5 year period. I think it took us to do this, not because it was difficult, but there was a break in there. He had to stop payment for it, and he's like, "Well, hold off now," because he went through a divorce. Don't know if it was because of this, but he ended up breaking up with his wife and moved on. But this thing was huge. The blade on this is 5 foot across, just to give you a little perspective of how big this thing is.
Wow. That's huge.
Yeah. Let's see. This would be the side view of it.
Okay, cool.
And it was a fun project. We take on some different projects every once in a while just to kind of help us out.
Is that the I won't say weirdest request you've ever had, but what if that isn't, what would you say is the strangest thing you've had to wow, that really shows the size there.
Yeah, it does. Because he wanted the cab to be big enough. He had a bell he was going to mount in there. So
okay.
we put LED lights on the inside there, and on the back was a mirror that we engraved on the back side. Did a color fill to with the CB logo, and there were some other logos that we engraved. The laser, there was a Navy logo on the front, and then on the sides of the cylinders was the little the B for the little CB on that.
Yeah. Well, that was impressive when you first showed it. Now seeing the size of it there, it's even more impressive. That's really cool.
I guess I can scroll through it this way. That's interesting. Sorry, folks. Here's back and forth. You know, this was a video. Let's see if we can try this video here, Dave. See if this will work or not. But this is how we do stacking our stripes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess you have to do that to try to get the best yield out of that material.
Yeah, exactly. Because if you don't, if you do one at a time, you know, it's amazing how much material you lose doing that. So, you know, there's your cost savings with material and time on something like that. Let's see. I don't know if it was a weird request, and I don't think I have it on here. Um, it was a book that we did, and I say book, and it was a 5 foot tall by 24-inch deep book by about 48 inches wide. This thing was massive. Um, it opened up, and you could he had things he put in it. It was quite a large um, project.
Rob
Actually, let me see.
Schuster wants to know where you purchase your wood.
Um, Liberty Hardwoods out of Kansas City. They deliver over here. They've got a route that comes over here. That's where we get most of our oak. Um, for our walnut, there's a local mill that's probably an hour from us that we're able to go over there and get wood um, from him, and he lets us kind of go through and hand pick it, which is nice, especially with the walnuts as pricey as that stuff gets.
Yeah. All righty.
Actually, I do have a picture of that book. Um, let me go back to screen share.
Okay.
This one was it was quite the project. It, in a business, you try to figure out your costs and everything before you do it. So you give the customer the price. And this one we didn't even. I don't know. We come about half the time because
Mm-hmm.
big as it was, we didn't take into account taking two people to move this thing around. So just
Yeah. Are you trying to screen share now? Because I'm not seeing.
no, I'm trying to get back to this. Trying to get back.
Okay. I just want to make sure you didn't think you were.
Nope. Let's see. We're trying now. Screen share. There we go.
There we go.
And we'll get over to it again.
Yeah, I should tell folks that Jeff is doing all the screen sharing with just one screen, so it makes it a little trickier.
Sorry, folks. So this is the book. We call it the BAB, the big ass book.
Yeah. Okay. That's a good name for it.
Yeah. So I mean, all walnut. I kind of quickly go through some pictures here. Um, This was it together.
Wow, that
Top,
thing is huge.
left and right. The dovetails on the sides there, those dovetails were probably about 1.5 inches dovetails.
Mm-hmm.
The mortise that we put to bring those two into the binding, uh, huge.
Yeah, I guess sometimes when you're drawing that up in VCarve Pro or something, it's hard to remember that, hey, this thing is going to be big, it's awkward, it's heavy. It's easy
Yeah,
to forget stuff when you're looking at it on a little screen,
yeah. Now the back binding, he wanted it curved so it looked like a book. So this was 2 pieces of 8/4 walnut that we glued together to be able to get the curve in it when it was put together.
Yeah,
Yeah, and there's
yeah, that's fantastic.
and
And what
there's
what
was
did
a
this guy put in this thing? I mean,
he put in this was his retirement display. He was I think he was 33-year Marine, Master Gunnery Sergeant. I can't remember. See, I'm not sure on the Marines, but the top rank enlisted guy there. This is what he had come up with as an idea. He wanted to keep all of his stuff inside it.
yeah,
This picture coming up here is the one side was part of it. He had his uniform, um, pictures, all kinds of memorabilia. What was really unique was each and everything that he had in this display had meaning to him or his family. Uh,
mm-hmm.
it, I mean, looking at it, and it's when he started bringing the stuff over that he wanted to put in it, I was kind of like, well, I don't really know if this is going to work or not. But it really it all came together. Um,
Mm-hmm.
this big
Rob
portrait
Schuster
that paint.
Rob Schuster has labeled that the mother of all books, Moab.
It was. We had this thing. We had to take it apart to move it because it was so heavy. We'd made all the display areas to be able to be removed for that. Um, yeah, yeah. I guess when we delivered this thing to him because he lived just not too far from the base, and when we were pulling it all to get out of the truck, taking it down to his basement. I come back out, and I mean this is big tough Marine guy, that had a tear in his eye, and it's those kind of reactions to something that you build or something you create that really make it worth it. It was just we'd look back at it and go, man, that it wasn't a moneymaker, but we got some good experience
Yeah.
from. But
Now,
it
after
was
building something this of this size and detail and stuff, did that get you some referral business? I mean, anybody that looked at that would have to go, well, man, that's awesome. Who made that?
I don't know. I'm not really sure if it did because he got kind of a little museum in his basement that we ended up putting it down there. Um,
Mhm.
and I'm sure he's talked to other people, told them where he got it, but I don't know if anybody ever had a idea of something on this magnitude.
Yeah.
This was, you talk about some other software that I've used, SketchUp. I don't know if anybody's used SketchUp before, but this is what we kind of drew it up in with SketchUp
Mhm.
to get kind of a rough idea of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, a lot of people use SketchUp, and it's good to be able to draw a kind of a 3D view of something. That's one thing about VCarve Pro. You're basically just drawing everything 2D, and you can't really put it together. But But
Yeah. As a wife standing next to the when we were initially doing the build on there,
uh-huh.
just the sides of the book.
Yeah, it's almost as tall as she is.
Yeah, doing the this is David. David's 6'3", 6'4". So we were doing the dovetails, or excuse me, yeah, it was dovetails with the jig, and he's on the stool there, and we've got that on top of the outfeed table on the table saw, so we could get those boards up underneath there to be able to cut out the dovetails.
Wow. Fantastic.
So that's about all the ones there.
Okay. Well, we've been on here just over an hour, and I have enjoyed seeing all the different things you make and hearing your story. So thank you so much for coming on. If anybody else has any questions for Jeff, shoot them in the chat real quick, and we'll try to get to them before we go. Avi says, SketchUp is a great program, very versatile. I'm even doing my architectural drawings for the new house in SketchUp, I think is what he means. So it looks like we got a conversation over here, whether Mark Lindsay's Army or Air Force. I'm pretty sure he's Army from what I've heard him say. Because he's always talking about working on helicopters. So
Yeah. And Greg Hamilton, I'm not building a grand piano.
Yeah. Well, that book gave you some experience on big projects anyway. So
Yeah, definitely. Something
all right. Well, I guess
always look at and make sure that the scale of things that you're going to be doing is not too big.
Okay. Well, let me before we close out here, Jeff. What's your final thoughts on people who have a vision of getting a CNC like a Gatton or whatever, but particularly a Gatton because it's a DIY thing. With and if they have a vision to get this and build it and start a small business of some kind, what would you say to that person?
I would say if this is somebody that's not going out and getting a huge loan to start a business, you're trying to do it on a budget. This is obviously the best route to go. With this machine, if something breaks down, I don't have to call a repairman, and pay him, their travel fees plus their expenses to come out, plus your parts and labor, and then them traveling back home. It's just, me fixing the machine that I built. And I'm sure, if we ever do move on to another machine, a production built machine, this would definitely give you a leg up, being able to know how they work, the ins and outs of a CNC. So, I mean, for us, it's really helped just keep our production level moving along, and being able to do something over and over again, and it's going to do the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Okay, awesome. Well, Jeff, I have to thank you so much for coming on. And don't feel bad because I couldn't get you on in December because I couldn't get anybody to come on in December because the holidays are a busy time. But I'm glad we were able to get you on tonight. And like I said, just thank you so much for coming on here and being on the show tonight.
You're very welcome, Dave.
We've had it's slacked off a little bit now, but we've had over 100 people watching you tonight. So wow. That's this has been a popular show then. So
and
I knew it was going to be a good
14-year-old son might think I'm kind of cool now because I'm on somebody's blog.
There you go. So anyway, I appreciate all you guys out there, guys. I should say guys and gals, although I don't know if I've seen any gals' names out there or not. But thank y'all for tuning in and watching tonight. If you've enjoyed this as much as I have, please leave a thumbs up on your way out, and make sure, let me put it up here again. Where'd it go? Make sure you go check out his website. Like I said, he makes all kinds of stuff, not just Air Force stuff, but all branches of service. So go check it out. And I guess we're going to wrap this one up. So thank you again. Let's see if I can find that magic button to get us out of here. I guess that's going to do it. Thanks so much, Jeff.
All right. Thank you, Dave.
And everybody else, we will see you next week. Good night, everybody.